Good morning and welcome back to the Celtic Unrestricted View. It's myself, JP. Joining me this morning is a very good man, Mr. Paddy McCourt. How are you, son? We were chatting about you last night and it's nice to see you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Aye, heard that. You were saying about the Paddy McCourt sticking.
Aye, definitely, mate.
Not sure how happy I'm about that, but aye, fair play.
What is it? I think Ryan said last night, if the face fits and all that, it's kind of one of those situations, mate. I think you're definitely stuck with that now. But
Aye, no,
that's good.
glad to be on. Aye, apologies for missing out with a few personal problems last night, lads.
That's all right, mate.
Aye, glad to be back, and obviously a great weekend there.
How was your
for
weekend?
World Cup.
I never got a chance to ask you last night, so.
Aye, no, it was relatively quiet. Just watched. We're out for my mum's birthday meal Saturday, and then quiet one Saturday night, and then watching that fantastic game on Sunday. So that was a nice top off to a good weekend. So
good stuff.
Onwards and upwards towards tomorrow.
Aye, good stuff. It's always nice, mate. I think when you break your weekend up and maybe you've got a birthday or maybe something on, and you can get about and go out and do something. Maybe you're going for a meal or do something. I think it's always nice to kind of break your weekend up. But do you go somewhere nice?
La Vita, all these
very
things.
nice.
So aye, and the surprise. My mum was in shock. They surprised her with coming out with a cake and singing "Happy Birthday." So it was like one part shock and the other part looking at me as if I'm going to kill you for setting that up.
Was it like a Heartbreak Kid? They came over the wee guitars and all that and start.
No, it was. Come on, it was like a wee tiny cake and a big flare coming out of it, and I went, "Well, I thought it was going to set off." And then they all just started singing "Happy Birthday," the whole restaurant basically. So it was one of the kind of embarrassing moments if it happens to yourself.
Right, okay.
But it was all good.
I'm not quite easy embarrassed enough. Don't get me wrong. I can. People singing "Happy Birthday" to me doesn't really bother me. No, as I say, but obviously we're joined by several others and Jem again. Morning, JP and Alan. Good morning, and Jem. Hope you're well. And Fraser Fletcher's joining us on YouTube. It's nice to see you, Fraser. Not seen you for a while, pal. Hope you're well. Fraser's a very good friend of the podcast, Alan, for long ago, and he's also a very good journalist as well. So, as I say, it's nice to see he's keeping an eye on us. Paul Cook's also joining us. Says morning, JP and Alan. Hail, boys. Hail yourself, Paul. Hope you're well, Paul. And Jem reckons talking about faces fitting. Have you two lost your razors? Definitely not. I've just decided that call this my winter coat starting to come in. No, I'm only kidding. I'm getting to that point where I'm ready to shave. I'm just not quite there. My under here and my neck is actually quite sore. So I don't want to take my razor over that because I've had tendencies to do that before, and it brings me out in this almighty rash right round my chin. So I would rather try and avoid that and let that die down a wee bit. I've been putting things like Sudocrem and stuff on it to try and get it soothed a wee bit before I decide to put the Gillette through it. So I definitely. Yeah, as I say, thanks for joining in, folks. As I say, this is something new we've decided to start doing over the last couple of weeks, and we're going to continue it now, coming on during the day. Especially when myself and Alan just love chatting about Celtic that much. We've nothing better to do with our time, I don't think. But as we can all see, today we're going to be having a wee chat about the VAR in Scotland. I think it's quite fitting, Alan, as well. Recently we've just seen this the video from Crawford Allen and Gordon Duncan, and they take you in and a wee bit more in depth of what happens in the VAR control room and things that are happening. Because what I've said to you before, mate, I've said to Ryan as well, when you're in the stadium and the decisions going to VAR and what they're doing, it feels like an absolute eternity before they're coming to a point of what decision is going to be made. And I think there's a lot of misconstruing us, and there's a lot of uncertainty in what's going on. I think that wee video, albeit it was like 12 minutes, it's on YouTube. If anybody wants to go and have a look as well, you can go in there and just type in VAR in Scotland, and you'll find it because it pops up saying it's a year's anniversary from at the weekend there. So, and I really do think that it's been a quick year, and obviously there's been mega teething problems with that. But what I will say is, I really do think that I'm for it as long as they come to the correct decision, Alan. But I think there's a lot of, like I says, mate, I think there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of people not really understanding what exactly goes on. And I think that wee video gives you a great insight as to how they deal with it, how the communication with it, and what outcomes can be in different types of scenarios, because it looks as if it's all categorised.
I know it was a great wee watch. Very informative. As I say, we had a basic kind of idea of what happened kind of behind the scenes, but that went into a bit more depth and kind of showed you why the game is delayed so much. They're basically trying to look back and make sure that they get every aspect to that phase of play so that they're getting the decision correct. I think that Crawford Allen, something I took out as well, he was saying that maybe they're overworking the decision too much, they're double checking it too much. Most of the time that the first kind of perception of the decision is usually right. So maybe if they'd done that, it could quicken up the decision a bit more. But you're inside kind of seeing the crux of that with that programme. And I thought it was kind of informative, and it's nice to see kind of an explanation why possibly they're taking a bit longer in making these decisions. So I thought that it was a good programme. Like, as I say, it just gives you that wee bit of information, and then you realise why these kind of time lapses are taking place.
Yeah, like I says, I think it brings a bit of clarity and a bit of, it answers a few questions, because I think, like I say, the communication levels, I think it can be better, but it can be helped with, in my opinion, a wee bit more in terms of the technology side of it. I don't know what, how they generate money and how they do it, but there's got to be a way where we can generate some money to give them help, as in adding cameras, putting a bit more into it, especially if they're going to be that serious about it and want to make this work. And because I think a lot of fans, I know Plunges says, like I say, it's not so much the technology, but it's actually the refs that that are operating this. Are they good enough? Are they not? And that brings a whole list and array of different types of questions that and that sort of topic. But I think overall, mate, I think for that wee video itself, it gives people an idea and more of an understanding as to what goes on. It certainly made me have now, I will have moving forward, a bit more patience in terms of when you're in the stadium and decisions are being made, and just exactly the way they look at it, and all the kind of jargon that that they use to do so. I really do think it's beneficial, that wee video. And again, if anybody wants to see that, you can go on and have a look on the YouTube, and you will get it there. But I really do think, personally, Alan, I think it gives a good insight to fans who maybe just don't quite understand what's going on.
Aye, as I say, it is definitely worth a watch, so you're spot on there, JP. It would be obviously a lot more beneficial if there was kind of a lot more cameras. But that's what they're saying, that the riches of the kind of English Premier League, that they can facilitate more cameras. So that's possibly why they're kind of making decisions more promptly. And obviously human error, we spoke about earlier, JP, there was quite a significant error in the English Premier League.
Yeah.
So you've got to understand that there will be times, we're all human beings. I think it's improved the game because most of the decisions they are getting right, most of them. But there's always got to be that side of human error, no matter what system we implement. There's always going to be mistakes everywhere. But I think with the VR being implemented, I think they've kind of minimised the mistakes as much as possible. Another thing that they touched on that programme was they didn't have the financial facilities to go with the goal line technology.
Mm-hmm.
So we're working kind of bottom of the barrel because of the size of our league. So I think it's a minimum of 6 cameras that they mentioned that they have to have. But I think larger leagues, financial wise, like the English Premier League, have got significantly more cameras. So if we could raise the funds to somehow get the kind of facilities, then obviously it would benefit the system and our overall game. But we get back to the age-old problem, the financing and income in Scottish football. So we would be going back to a discussion about the TV money, etc., etc. But at the minute, I think overall it's been a good thing for Scottish football because, as I say, the majority of the decisions that are happening and being made, they are the correct ones. But there will be a few that kind of slip away and we'll get a few wrong. But that's only human error.
Yeah. Well, you did mention, I mean, down south, and Corvo obviously watches us quite regularly. He's a big Newcastle fan, as we know. And there you go. I mean, he's saying the VAR down there is still honking. I think a lot of fans, obviously for yourself, Corvo, as well, a lot of fans are looking for that clarity. And I think there's leagues in the world, especially the Australian League, after every game, about an hour after the full-time whistle goes, the audio and even sometimes the video, depending on the severity of what decisions were made on that actual game, it's uploaded to YouTube. You can actually go and see it on YouTube for anybody who is interested in that. Also, to go and have a look at, and basically all you hear is constant conversations with the referee, the on-field referee, and the VAR control room, and how decisions are made in, certain scenarios and certain situations. I think there needs to be clarity, and I think for the fans, especially like when decisions. I mean, we spoke about it earlier on. Like the Luis Diaz decision in England, right? Mate, that's Looney Tunes. I mean, even in normal play, you can see he's no offside. So it's how they come to that and then when you hear that audio and you're like, how do you still get that wrong? When you're sitting there with all sorts of cameras and replays available to you, like, how can you communicate that wrongly? So, like I says, mate, I think sometimes it comes down to the individuality of the actual person, not necessarily the technology that you're using. And I think Plunge is right to an extent there. I think it's how competent are people at their job. Because if you and I, in a normal job, just say it was, I don't know, in a baker's or in a butcher's, something like that, and we weren't good at our job, mate, there must be a procedure you go down, i.e. disciplinary, where you're taken out the firing line eventually, and then you're eventually sent on your merry way because you're just you're not doing the company any good. You're not helping us. You're not developing your own skills doing the job. These guys shouldn't be any different, mate, just because they're referees. And I mean, the big conversation is, Alan, our referees is probably one of the only referees that aren't full time. So a lot of the referees are off full time. So will it help? Of course it would, because if they were doing it every single day and every minute of the day, and then their spare time they're doing coaching or training on it or this and that, they would be a lot more involved in terms of what's going on. And for me, like I say, there is new referees coming in. I mean, there is a couple of guys appeared on the scene. I think one of them was a guy that refereed, I can't remember his name. He refereed the Celtic and Kilmarnock game recently at Celtic Park. He's a relatively new ref. And there's one or two others that's joining us now. And, these guys need to be given. I understand referee's a hard game, right? Because you get one look at something. And before VAR, the referee's decision was final. He made a decision and that was it. Now with VAR, mate, they've got this technology now they can go back and say, listen, I don't think you've made the right decision there. I think you're going to need to come and look at that again. But what I wasn't aware with Alan is I didn't know it was a VR control room telling the ref to make this sort of signal. So they tell him to signal. So the ref doesn't make that decision himself. So I think a lot of Celtic fans were baffled as well with the John Beaton decision, and he's lip reading what he's saying to Callum McGregor. It's not my decision. Well, that is because you're the on-field referee. So that's just a cop-out. So again, mate, it comes down to the individual performances, and it comes down to the individual, the way they do it. And I think some of them, more so than not, want to pass a buck and leave a ball in somebody else's court before actually getting to an actual decision that's final in their sort of minds.
Well, I think you noticed as well for that programme, JP, the referees are being told to go ahead with the game as if VR didn't exist. So they're kind of, that's getting taken away from them with the rules of what they're using.
Yeah.
So the only time that they're getting involved with that is when the VAR assistant come in and say, right, we might have an issue here.
Yep.
Delay the game until we check this. And then at that point, if there is a decision to be made, they're putting it back over to the referee to go and have a look at it. So it's obviously, they're looking at if it's an error the referee's made because he's not seen it at that part to stop the game and then come over. If they agree with that, he goes over to the screen, has a look.
Mm-hmm.
But the quality of referee, and I know what you're saying and what Plunge is saying, but we're back to the discussion we're constantly having. It's the finance available in Scottish football. We simply don't have kind of viable finance to employ certain parts of the game full time, and that's going back to the kind of fact of the matter of TV deals and the income for teams. So there's no possible way at the minute to employ referees full time. And obviously, I agree with you. Obviously, it would help if these guys were doing it day in, day out, and it would take the decision making up a notch, and it would improve our game. But it's trying to get to that level, financial level, that we're able to employ these guys full time. But at the minute, it doesn't look as if we're going to be at that financial level until we can sort out the income and the TV deals that we're getting in Scottish football.
That's the thing as well. Well, obviously, that was going to be my next question. Can we make refs full time? And if so, how do we go about it? And even in the people that are watching us just now, if you would like to send in some of your comments and ideas within reason, obviously, folks, as well. And we could maybe have a discussion about that in terms of how do we go about doing that? How do we make a difference to refereeing in Scottish football? Because there's got to be a way, Alan, that we can, the refs can go full time. Why is it able to happen in every other league? And not every other league's going to have more finances than Scottish football. Because if you look at leagues in Turkey and stuff like that, I don't think one or two teams, yeah, but I don't think these national leagues necessarily have more disposable income than Scottish football. I would be really intrigued to know what the major difference is if that is the case, because like I says, it's got to be something that can be looked at in terms of, because like I says, these guys need severe help. And I understand it's a, you know, it's a tough. It must be a tough job to do, especially when you've got 60,000 fanatical supporters all screaming at you and booing you and things that do happen to a referee on a game-to-game basis. And I'd be really intrigued, mate, to find out if you know, if we can't, why is it we can't make these refs full time? Is it, are they not willing to do it, or is it just not feasible? And then if it's not feasible, that brings a different question as to why. Because surely the Scottish FA would, if you want to do the best for the game, guys like Ian Maxwell and stuff need to get around the table, man, and start looking at ideas to, because we're way behind, mate. We were last domestic competition to implement VAR also. So why are we always behind?
I think it's the management in place that are dealing with the finance, that are getting the finance. But when you look at when you get back to basics on all these kind of decisions about why refs are the full time, it's all coming down to finance. Like you look at the smaller teams in our league, they're struggling to stay afloat at times. So I don't know if it was myself and you or myself and Ryan that had the discussion about the TV deal and the money that we're bringing in, but it's all kind of leading back to that. It's a domino effect for there. We are selling ourselves short as a league financially, especially when there's the amount of TV channels, sports channels, even the streaming platforms that are paying an excessive amount of money for a product that a lot of people want in football. I think when we were talking to Timothy Mialbi as well, he was stating that Swedish football, the TV deal, they get a lot more money than we do.
I find that astonishing, mate, because their teams, I don't mean to be rotten, mate, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but their teams, in my opinion, probably aren't good enough. They're not as good as the Scottish teams are. I think if Celtic played their top team at the moment, I'm not being cheeky when I say this, I think we'd wipe the flavour them.
And that's how whoever's managing these TV deals and whoever's managing the product that we're selling way short. And as I say, that's got to have a domino effect with everything. With grassroots of football, with the money that we're able to invest in youth in football, with the facilities, the infrastructure, and that comes down to employing referees part and full time as well. The money's, there's not enough kind of coppers in the jar to fulfil full time referees at present, and that all stems for how much money we're bringing into our game in Scotland. And as I say, I've said and reiterated a number of times, it's simply we're selling ourselves short, and for the product that we're putting out, it's worth a lot more than that. When you're taking into account the 135 million that the Dutch league just got a year, and we've got 35 million. So I know the Dutch league is probably a better level than ours, and there's more teams in that can challenge. But is it 5 times worth more than our league? That's where I'd be questioning. I don't think it's anywhere near that much better. So for us to get tiny amounts for the product that we're selling, it's going to have an impact on all the infrastructure and the money we're putting into the game.
I do think you're right, Alan. I think in the aspect of the people in charge of the game here, I think there needs to be a change here, because I don't know what some of them are doing, but they're drawing wages for more or less hee-haw. And again, I don't want to sound disrespectful there, but I just want to know why we're always last to do. You look at the national team and how successful it became over the last couple of years. We need to be going. The hierarchy there need to be evolving with that as well. You look at the state of Hampden, It's an absolute shambles to have that as your national. That's embarrassing to have that as your national stadium.
Yeah.
And again, man, I don't mean to be. I don't want to for people thinking, that's a bit harsh, but it's reality. I'm afraid that's the reality of it. That stadium is very old fashioned in terms of the design and and the accessibility in and around the stadium is absolutely shocking. The way things are. Because to go to Hampden, obviously we've been lucky enough to we support a teammate that we're there every year, so more than once, and we when you go there, Alan, mate, you feel as if you're going away for a weekend with the boys. It takes you ages to get there, and then
Huh?
you've got to take like a packed lunch and all that way today for a day out because you're away all day, and then they shut off the train stations and at Mount Florida, and it's an absolute nightmare. And then people are walking down, Aikenhead Road, and the place it just comes to a standstill. Then you
Mm.
between that, then you've got people in the Tory Glen Asda, and then if people are in playing football themselves in at that Tory
Aye.
Glen footballing complex, it's just a shambles, mate. It's an absolute shambles. And for that to be called your um, your national stadium, for me, mate, I think you need to evolve and you need to sort of evolve, and that's part of the evolve. I mean, Scotland are training when they're at home. Scotland training, you know, at Lesser Hampden. The
Aye.
national team, mate, should have a state-of-the-art training complex that they go and they train in. They shouldn't be training on Lesser Hampden. As well just going down to Shuttles and Juniors and training down there.
Aye.
That's what it's
No.
like. It's like going down to Alexander Park or the Kelvin Grove and just training in there. These
I
guys should
think.
be training
Mm.
in an elite. You've got guys coming for teams like Liverpool, playing in the Premier League. Teams like Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal. You know, these guys, they're playing at the top level. When they're with their club teams, they're used to playing in state of the art. So when they're with their national team, for me, mate, that should be a step up again for club level. So again, mate, I just think we're a way behind. And people are wondering why the national team's struggling to find that, that Gareth Bale or that Harry Kane or this and that. Because we're way behind in terms of our ideas and the way we do things and the way we run things. And then you look at the coaching and the way things are done in Scotland. And we just, but I just think we've got a dead negative attitude towards it all. And the VAR sort of, it's the same. It's like a backwater thought. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's just there and that's it. And to be fair with you, mate, I'm actually quite sick of it because we talk about our game and guys for England slag us and have a go. Guys like Simon Jordan having a go at the national team saying, like we should be qualifying, we should be doing this, we should be doing that. Again, mate, you don't have any divine right to do that, but I'm just sick of people having a go at us, and I'll defend what I can to the hilt. But when it comes to the reality of the actual infrastructure and the setup behind it all, then I can understand why people are so negative about it because it's certainly not the best, mate. And I think there's definitely loads of things we need to improve on. I think you touched on it in terms of the hierarchy at Scottish FA. I think there needs to be changes in there, mate.
I think you look back at the kind of grassroots infrastructure of Scottish football as well. That's how we're not providing these kind of top players. There's not enough money being put into grassroots football. And I think 99% of people that go to Hampden would agree. I think myself and you are in the same boat. It's since it was rebuilt, it was redesigned. You feel a million miles away from the pitch.
Yeah,
They put into place a running track around it for the Commonwealth Games that was happening for a few months, and now forever you feel even with it's how far away even without the running track because it seems to go away like horizontally instead of vertically. So the further back you are, you feel a million miles away from it. But I can't see them changing it anytime soon because, see, when you look at the facts of the matter, UEFA are still seeing that as a top stadium because they keep giving us European Cup finals, whatever competition that be.
It's classed as a 5-star stadium.
Huh?
And the reason it's classed as a 5-star stadium is because the team buses can get access to the stadium without having to cross over a public thoroughfare.
Huh?
So that's why Celtic Park isn't. It's not yet classed as a 5-star stadium because the team buses can't get near the stadium without having to go across a public sort of pathway.
Huh?
And it's the same with Ibrox as well. I think a lot of deluded fans think that these stadiums are 5-star, and it's just not the case. Hampden is classed as a 5-star stadium because they've got that underground and under stadium access that the players can go straight in. But the actual stadium itself, mate, it's not the greatest.
Aye, but as long as they keep getting these decisions like that, there's one stadium in the upcoming Euros that's going to entertain football in Scotland, and that's Hampden. So as long as these decisions keep being made, the SFA are just they're not going to listen to the fans. They're just going to sit, we've got, this stadium is the best we've got. It's getting picked by UEFA, FIFA, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So they're not going to see the issue that the fans have got, that the transport issues. Well, the transport issues, you know yourself, JP, they're shocking.
Absolutely terrible.
And look, when you're in the stadium, there's how far away you feel. It's not a great experience. Obviously, winning trophies and celebrating that is a fantastic experience. But
yeah,
the football viewing overall, it's not a great experience going to Hampden. Your overall kind of feeling of the day, it's just it doesn't feel like a great venue to go to. But I can't see that changing, and working back to the same thing about the finance. It's available to improve things like this, and it's no there. So that's going to be one of the last things on the list for the SFA to improve.
So what do we do then to generate that finance? Surely there's got to be a way we can.
We've hit the nail on the head by saying that these guys at the hierarchy, the SFA or SPFL, whoever it is, if they're negotiating a deal that's that small for the product that we're putting out, they're no fit for purpose. It's as simple as that. Whoever is okaying and negotiating that kind of deal, and I remember at the time that they took the deal, and it was like basically, is that Sky have come in? We'll just take that. There's so many different platforms now out there. You look at kind of Amazon as well. There's different streaming networks out there that are wanting to take on all levels of football. You've got ESPN. You've got lots of different platforms. So we should be proud of the output that we're putting that we're playing. The teams that we've got, we've got one of the biggest derbies in the world, and in our view, the biggest derby in the world. So we should be trying to sell that and put us on a plateau that we've got more kind of bargaining rights when we are trying to sell our product, because we should have a bidding war with people that's trying to get that product. But it seemed the first time as if we've just took the first offer that's come up, and it's well short.
See, as you're saying there, with the bargaining tool in terms of the derby, the Glasgow derby. For me, mate, I'm a big one on in terms of selling it. Okay, you sell it like as something. You don't sell it like we're part of that with him, because we're no like people talk about the two teams up here as if they're a married couple. We're no part of them.
Aye. But
and I think even more so now, Alan. I think it's more to see now. The fact that we couldn't be that further away from them ever than probably we've ever been right now, because we're doing our own thing and we're trying to do something our way, and they're doing their best, mate, to keep us away. Keep it, you know, they've cut for a start. They've cut the allocation, so they're doing their best to try and keep us away. So they obviously clearly don't see us as part of any sort of package there, or so the way I see it is we're not like a married couple. I hate people that come across and say, "Aye, Celtic and Rangers, aye, they're as if they're together." No, they're not. Celtic are away. There's levels to the game, right? For me, Celtic are away. They're away themselves. Then you've got Rangers, and then you've got the rest of the league. So that's the way that is. It's like 3 different levels. Celtic are at the top level. Then you've got Rangers here, and then the rest of the league's away down here.
But that's the
The
point.
gap,
They're
gap
not going
between
to
it all
sell
is
it like that,
unbelievable.
JP. Aye, no,
No, I
I
know.
agree with you. They're going to
surely
sell it. They're going to.
But
The
football
SFA
men
are going to
see it
sell
like
it.
that.
But the SFA are going to sell it like that. That's your niche, right? That's your main bargaining tool, is that derby, and whether we like it or not, right? And I agree with what you're saying, that we, in recent years, that we've shot ahead. Definitely, you can see that with the trophy hall. But any businessman, any marketing man, anybody that's selling our product, that is going to be top of the list. That we can attract people to pay for your product because we've got this. There's no other derby like this in the world. That's what the businessman and the salesman would be saying to try and get us the best financial deal possible for any of these, whether that be Sky, TNT, ESPN, Amazon, anybody like that. But at the same time, I agree with what you're saying. With the allocation being taken away in these games, it definitely takes away from the spectacle in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So we're no helping ourselves, especially what you're seeing Hearts and is it Motherwell as well. There's other clubs now that are getting on that bandwagon. They put in like a minimum amount of Celtic fans. When you look at the Hearts game at the weekend,
they couldn't even fill Tynecastle, Alan.
You'd like 2,000 at the side that were empty seats, and there's 500 tickets. So that's taken away from the game, in my opinion, because away allocation. I remember that was the first thing you look toward. See if we scored at Parkhead and against the club for the over the water. That would be the first thing you'd be looking and laughing at. And it's all football banter or whatever during that game, but that's the first thing you'd be looking at. You'd be looking at their fan base, and if it went 3-0, like people are leaving at Ibrox. If you were there at Ibrox when we had the full brim loan, you'd be all singing cheerio, cheerio, cheerio.
I know, we can see you sneaking out and all that, I know, of course, but...
So it's taken away from the spectacle, and if we're trying to sell for the best price we can to improve infrastructure, to improve referees, to improve the level of your game at grassroots, even at the normal level of our game, we need to take advantage of every aspect of our selling point. And we've taken away fans. That it's taken away from our actual game in turn. So how are we expected to bring in the finance, the highest optimum finance available, if we're hurting ourselves? The clubs we're hurting ourselves. We're taking away some of the best parts of our game, and in turn, it's low as an attractive proposition to buy the TV rights because of certain things that's happening within the game, Scottish football.
I will say Celtic aren't part of anything like that. Celtic aren't cutting allocations and, you know, the first to jump on board and do that.
Yeah.
It's other teams that are in the league that don't want the Celtic fans celebrating at their stadiums when Celtic go and win. That's the be all and end all, Alan. And as petty that may sound, mate, that's the reality of it. That's what's happening. You know, our fan base were fed up and they were constantly moaning to their chairmans and boards. And I mean, I don't know how many they've had there the last few years now. That's about 5-6 different boards that mob have had there. But
the SFA need to implement something. Like, that's what Brendan was saying.
Yeah,
they need to
definitely.
implement a minimum number so that the clubs, they've not got that choice, because at present we're hurting our own game.
How do you do it? Because what's happened there at Ibrox now is they've now sold season books in that section.
So, well, even if it's a plan to do it, they implement it 2 years down the line. So if you say to clubs just now, you need to leave aside a set amount of tickets, we will be implementing it from 2025, 2026.
No, I think that's
So
fair, aye. No, I think that.
downturns for them. But if the SFA had any kind of anything about them, or the SPFL, whatever government body it is, if they didn't about them, they would see that that's kind of it's detrimental to your game. It's taken away from the product that we're trying to sell, and it's hurting ourselves in the process.
You look at a product, I know. How can you say a product, mate, when you've got the plastic pitches and the way the state of the pitches, you know, like Rugby Park and Tony Macaroni Stadium, the pitches are absolutely atrocious. I haven't even put my weight on that for a game of fives.
It's just like a vicious circle, JP. So it's like a domino effect. So these teams are only getting the money put in. So they're only getting money for TV deals, money for elsewhere. So they're resorting to fitting in these plastic pitches because that saves them money for grass in the long term.
Yeah.
So we're not having the money, so you're putting in the plastic pitches. So the plastic pitches are stopping us from gaining the money. So it's just like a vicious circle. And it's just going to keep going until we get somebody with a good business head in at the hierarchy of these organisations and get the best deal for our game possible, and then we work for there.
I don't know how much you see him, mate, or how much you've watched him. It was about a year ago. I'm sure it was a year ago. It was a video clip of Simon Jordan, and he was trying to do a blueprint as to how he would improve Scottish football.
Right.
And not only him, Barry Hearn done this as well. Him that used to own the boxing and that. Obviously, his boy Eddie does it now. And there's been a couple of people came forward with ideas to the Scottish FA about, you know, changing things and doing things, and it's never been taken on board. So why are we still allowing people to be at the hierarchy of these tables who just don't have any genuine interest at all in terms of taking the country forward as a whole and as a spectacle, when they're normally the first in umbrage when something goes wrong, or, you know, taking umbrage to something that, you know, they dislike. You've got to implement change. And like I says, mate, when teams are progressing, i.e. the Scottish national team, and, you know, when they're developing players and guys are getting better and becoming better as a squad, and that constantly needs to keep evolving, so that you need a conveyor belt there. And mate, the realistic terms of that is we don't know who's next in line. Like the last Euros, it was Billy Gilmore that get chucked in. You know, he was a younger guy, and they chucked him in. I know there's a lot of chat just now about young Ben Dokes, etc. But I think overall, mate, like, there's no real clarity there as in what the next plan is. You know, what then is Steve Clarke going to do? What's he going to have to work with in the next couple of years? Because eventually, mate, guys like Callum McGregor, you know, John McGinn, these guys will become too old to continue playing with the national team. You know, they're similar ages. Ryan Christie's a similar age as well. So eventually these guys will become real senior members of the squad, and Callum McGregor's he's in his early 30s now, so he's only going to be able to prolong that side of his career for like so long. So it's what's the next one? What's the next? And I think, mate, I think you hit the nail on the head perfectly there earlier on when you says that the guys at the top seem to be. I personally, I know this is quite harsh, but the reality is, I don't think they're fit for purpose, mate. I really don't. I think we need to see, and I think you're spot on in terms of, you know, the way Queen's Park have done it. They brought this Dutch guy in, and he's got this vision. You know, they were open to change, and he's told them it's going to take 5 years to implement this big change and what it's going to take. And I think they're 2 years into that change. And I just think we need better coaches at grassroots level. I think we need a better standard. Because again, mate, some of these coaches, I mean, it's easy for someone just to go and get their badges and do their badges to a certain level. When it becomes obviously your UEFA license and everything else, it becomes a bit more harder and a bit more demanding of your time and things that you need to do. But anybody like me and you can go and do our coaching badges, mate. But you need to have that will and desire, Alan, to then go and be committed. You know, do the hard yards in terms of being involved and really helping the kids and helping them understand football's about enjoying yourself as well. It's not just about, you know, there is a structure in place for a reason, but it's also the key element is lost there in terms of kids are no, they're being overcoached now. You know, all these buzzwords are getting used to boys at 11-year-old, and boys at 11-year-old are like, I mean, they call it coaching. I've always called it practice.
Yeah.
Like you get apart, you practice. Like when I watched Henrik Larsson when I was a young boy, and I would get apart and try and do what Larsson done. How did he turn with that ball? What did he do? And you would set up that you and your mates or whatever. You'd put your mate in goals, and you would try and do that move. And 9 times out of 10, it would come off because you're learning. And people, all us in classrooms now, getting fed information. The boys are switching off. Some of these boys are like, too much information. So again, mate, I think I mean, we could probably do another podcast just basically on that alone. You're touching on a subject there that opens up a lot of doors, but it's relevant, mate, to developing the game. VAR is a big factor in our game now, so that's why obviously today we've chose to have a chat about that as well. But I think not just the referees, mate. I think overall Scottish football, it could be doing with just a massive revamp, mate, because for me, mate, I don't think, especially the kids, I think a lot of the enjoyment now is taken out for kids. I'm hearing some of my mates' boys going to football trainings and going to this and going to that. And I hear my mates speaking, telling me what the coaches are doing, and I'm going, what are they doing that for? Wee boy's only 9. What? Doesn't understand how to trigger a high press and what the hell's coaches doing? What are we doing in Scotland? So I think it's time, mate, that the whole thing's looked at, and it might take a certain individual coming in from abroad to give us that maybe understanding. And again, Alan, this goes back to, mate, I just feel as if we're way behind, and I'm fed up with it.
Yeah. No, I think it kind of stems from all the same problem. When you look at VAR, when you look at grassroots infrastructure, grassroots football, when you look at national stadium, TV deal, it seems to all stem from the same problem, that being kind of hierarchy of Scottish football. And I'd like to delve into it further to see what these guys' pasts are and what they've actually done in their life and in the games. But who's actually employing these people? Because is it a pals act? Is it there's a cushy wee number here? Because I see off the top of our head, I can't see or think of anything that's been productive for this management within the SPFL or SFA. I kind of think there might well be. I don't know if guys in the comments can think if there will be things that's been productive and things that have worked and things that have been put in place that have worked well for the Scottish game. But I can't think of anything that's been implemented that you go, aye, that was done really well. I'm struggling to think of anything like that. So I think all these problems that we've mentioned, they're all pronging and stemming from the same issues, and that's the kind of the management and who's actually dealing with the games, who's actually dealing with grassroots football, who's actually dealing with what level of coaching is necessary to teach our youth, who's actually negotiating for TV deals, who's negotiating sponsorship, who's looking at our national stadium, who's looking at the infrastructure there, the transport. It's all seems to be stemming for the same place. And there's a lot of issues there. So again, I would be looking further into who's actually running these things and questioning why we are still the doldrums and still so far behind other respective nations that are on a similar level football-wise and financial-wise. And I'd be asking the question.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you're spot on. I definitely think it's a chat that we could do on another one of the episodes that we're going to do. I definitely think it's a bit more in depth that we could go to in terms of the infrastructure behind the game in Scotland. And I don't mind getting my head on a good bit of reading about it and try to do it, because again, mate, I've got that hunger and desire. I want to go and learn about it. Surely as an aspiring young coach, or you've got to have that hunger and desire, mate. You've got to have that within you, and it's not about like going and earning money and doing it. You need to do it for the love of the football. You need to do it for the love of wanting to help a kid or want to help somebody develop their skills. And if you've got some knowledge, use it wisely. Don't give us this negative attitude like, oh, I can't be. Oh, I was out last night with my mates and I've got a game in my. I can't be bothered. I phone one of my other coaches and how you doing? Gonna go and do that game. No, start showing us a bit more desire and and want to do the actual job that you've been brought in to do. And again, mate, it comes down to the individuality. But I think you're spot on, Alan. I think overall, mate, I think we need to look at everything as a whole. And I think anyone that's watching us just now, and anybody that's in the comments, if there's anything any topics you guys want us to discuss, we're open to suggestions also. If you want to, if you want to put in some ideas and anything you maybe want us to cover in terms of topics, that way you can tune in and hear what the guys have got to say, because I think it's also good hearing from you guys as well, instead of us just coming on and chatting. Sometimes it's good to hear. And also, guys, we are going to do that. We're going to implement a question and answer. So we will look at that over the next week, I would say, and we'll announce that when it's going to happen, and we'll get a question and answer. So it brings you guys in it as well. Like say yourself, Plunge, Corvo, Red Scotland, guys, the regular contributors, and Jem, the guys that are commenting in here regularly. And that way it gives you something to look forward to and be part of as well, so that we'll give a bit back that way. And so yeah, as I said, it's James, the game on Wednesday, we're on tomorrow again, mate, so we will cover that tomorrow, obviously, for tomorrow night's game. We are on tomorrow again at 11:30. So we will cover that again tomorrow. And as I said, it's yeah, Paul, we actually do them at night, mate, as well. We actually do them at night. We're on Monday nights and we do Friday nights as well. We're on at 8:30 at night as well. But obviously, we're finding some folk want to tune in during the day as well, Paul, which is why we've kind of started doing extra days with this, when obviously the lads are available, mate. So, but we do it at night, mate, if you're looking to tune in. We're on Monday nights at 8:30. We do Friday nights at 8:30 as well. We used to do a Wednesday night at 8:30. But that's something we can look at still implementing if the desire and the need is there from you guys. It all comes down to you guys as well, because we don't want you to get bored looking at our big dripping curtains all the time. And but as I said, it's totally down to what you guys want. But again, guys, if anyone wants us to chat about a topic, or within reason, obviously, but there is limits to what we can actually do and say on here. So, yeah, as I say, we can certainly have a discussion between us, and we'll decide what we're going to do. But again, tomorrow, guys, we are on at 11:30. But Alan, I do think you're spot on. Just before we finish up, mate, I do think you are spot on in terms of what you were saying in terms of the hierarchy. I think it's definitely something that needs to be looked at pronto, mate, in my opinion.
Aye, no, I think stare everybody in the face. We've just mentioned kind of 3 or 4 subjects, and they're all kind of relating to the same decisions made by certain individuals in the hierarchies. So you're seeing a common denominator there. You're seeing something common that there's obviously issues with, because there's, as I said before, there is leagues at a similar standard to ours that seem to be outperforming us, whether that be on the park or off the park financially. We seem to be slipping behind, quite dramatically, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I think as a whole, we need to look at an overhaul of the way that the management or whoever's running the game looks upon our game. Because I think I think we're slipping behind, and there has to be some changes implemented.
Yeah, we are. I don't think we're just starting to slip behind, Alan. I think it's something that we've always been behind by.
Yeah.
Like I says, it's, we seem to be the last. I mean, we're the last to get VAR in. Our refs aren't full time. The rest of the refs are full time elsewhere. So we are, we definitely are behind in quite a lot. And we seem to be last to make decisions on things as well. It's quite frustrating, mate. Obviously, I'm a big Scotland fan as well as being a big Celtic fan. So it's very frustrating when you do see it from afar. Because I mean, I'm not even, I'm not a professional in any of that sort of industry, but I definitely think I could implement ideas and changes fairly quickly in terms of the way things are running at the moment. In terms of that, the Scottish, first of all, the Scottish national team, mate, should have, they should have the best of facilities instead of training in open air park at Lesser Hampden. No disrespect to Lesser Hampden, but they should be training in a state of the art complex. And again, mate, I think the Scottish FA should be looking into that and looking at what they can do in terms of getting them that accommodation, because these guys are all playing at the top level, mate. Those guys playing in the Premier League and playing at a very high level with big clubs. And in my opinion, I think they deserve that. A wee question here, Alan, just before we finish up. We'll maybe take this the last one.
Yeah.
He's actually, Corville saying to me, JP, question, how much for O'Reilly? Name your price. Me personally, Corville, well, he's just signed that new deal, mate. And this is before he signed the new deal. I rated Matt O'Reilly very highly. I laughed when Ryan had brought it up on the pod a few weeks ago about Leeds United, Alan, bidding 10 million from him. And I says, what are they doing? They're taking him in Nando's. I says, that's just his football for him and his family, I think, mate. No, you're talking 30. You're talking between 30, 35, I would say, right now, before a conversation even takes place, Corville, easily. He's not just doing it for Celtic. He's doing it for Celtic in the Champions League also, and he's performing. His numbers are hitting a high level, week in and week out now. He's now adding goals to that, and he's now creating goals against teams like Lazio and teams that are well known in Europe and have been for years. So when you do it at that stage, mate, and and you're doing it regularly, not only so, but you're then called into your national team. Taken straight from he was with the under-21 squad at Denmark for a long time, and then he was taken into the senior setup to be with the guys in there. Probably would have done his confidence the world a good. But listening to his interviews and stuff, he's quite a humble guy, Corville. So I think he's quite modest and he's quite humble and he's happy where he is at the moment. And I'm being honest, mate. I personally don't think you would require Matt O'Reilly at the moment, mate. If that's what you're, he's just put up there, Alan. The checks in the post.
That's buttons for them, isn't it?
Aye, definitely. But I do think, saying that, you're going to be without your man Sandro Tonali for quite a while. What were the odds on that? But I would say he's certainly up there, mate. He's definitely. I can understand why you've even said the checks in the post. He's a fantastic player, and I personally think he's only going to get better. I also think Alan, he's very happy at Celtic, mate. I don't think he'd be in any desire and major hurry to be leaving. I think it's going to take something really monumental in terms of a big, massive shift. Because he doesn't strike me as the type of boy that's money motivated. So I think it needs to be right for him and maybe his girlfriend, or if he's got a fat. I don't think he's got a family. I think he's no longer got his girlfriend here.
Yeah.
And but I think he's quality, and I really do. And I think he's now becoming a major player for Celtic.
He's been the most improved player by a long way this season under Brendan Rodgers. He's progressed so much. Aspects of his game, what I didn't catch last night, but his goal at the weekend, like, I know it was a good, I spoke to yourself, it was a great ball for Palmer, but that movement, that's added to his game as well.
Yeah.
But that kind of movement to get in that position and get a few yards ahead of the opposition players, that's top level. That's getting up there. And if he keeps progressing the way he is progressing in these first 10, 12 games of this season, you're looking at the ceiling will be massive.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the way he's playing at the minute, if you could take that over to kind of tomorrow night, you could see interest in him. There's only one person that will be able to tell you if that interest would go or not. He looks happy. He seems happy. But he's playing fantastically well for us at the minute. And like Corvo's question, I think at the minute you'd be looking at Jota money. That kind of level. I think you'd be looking at that. But we don't care about the bank accounts at the minute. We just want to see these players on. Well, personally, I just want to see these players on the park. I'd rather they stay. We can post whatever profits you want. I'd rather see somebody like Matt O'Reilly stay here and see you out the 4 years. So we can only hope that he is happy and he is settled, and he would prefer to stay here at Celtic. Because if he does keep on the progression route he's on at present, he could be something special, because he's performing exceedingly well this season so far.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate. I think he summed that up perfectly. I think he's a guy that's really happy. I don't think he's in a hurry to go anywhere. And why would he be? I mean, Celtic, that's the last 2 seasons now, they've been in the Champions League. They won the league again. They're going straight back into the Champions League, into a different setup now, a new and more lucrative setup in the Champions League, where Celtic will gain more finances and they'll be guaranteed Champions League football to January before their fate has been decided, due to be playing more games in Europe. Corvo, it's not happening. He's not coming. It's not happening. He's definitely not coming, mate. He'll be with Celtic. I think he'll be with Celtic this season and next season before anything is decided for his future. Again, that's just my opinion. There'll probably be guys here going, "Nah, I think he might be gone in January." That's fair enough. But again, you're talking funny money if that's the case. And again, that's probably a different conversation. But Alan, I think you've summed that up perfectly, mate. Again, mate, it's been a pleasure sitting here having a chat with you. Everybody that's commented in, again, guys, thank you very much, because we totally appreciate everybody's, that's why we do this, for everybody's, contribution and input. If it wasn't for you guys being here and, sitting watching us, this obviously wouldn't be happening, and it certainly wouldn't be possible, Alan, as we know. Just before we finish up, guys, for anybody that's new to the podcast, just to let you know, the podcast is sponsored by AB Entertainment. The AB stands for a Mr. Alec Beveridge. It's a DJ and entertainment business, folks. And for anybody who can't see that contact number that's on the screen, I'll read it out to you. It's 07845 746 092. That's 07845 746 092. That's obviously the phone number you would contact Alec if you want entertainment, if you've got any parties coming up, family dues, any work functions, anything at all, Halloween parties, Christmas party, anything at all you've got coming up. Guys, I would say get in contact with him pretty soon, because his diary is filling up rapidly. So again, anyone that's new to the podcast and you're looking for maybe, I need a DJ, there you go. This is your man here for it. So And that's the best number to contact him. He's on Facebook and he's on Instagram also. But that is his number for the WhatsApp as well. Also, guys, just to let you all know that the Celtic Unrestricted View does still have some merchandise up for grabs. We've got these mugs. And we've got these key rings as well. If anybody wants to get their hands on any of these guys, just give us a shout. You can message us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can message us in the community section of our YouTube channel also. The mugs are priced at £5. They're printed in vinyl as well, folks, so very good in terms of quality level with the print. You can scrub away at it and it's not coming off. So it's pretty good. I've tried it myself, Alan, that's how I know. The key rings are also quite handy as well. Again, Bev's details is on the key rings as well for anyone that's maybe looking for that as well and they can see it closer. They're priced at £1.50. So again, guys, if anybody wants to get their hands on any of that, you can reach out to us and we will get that sorted for you. Guys, as I said, we'll be back on tomorrow from 11:30. And then the lads are back on. I'm not on. The lads are back on Friday evening at 8:30, where they will be joined with Barry Bannon. Barry Bannon will be joining the lads on half. I'm glad I'm not on, by the way. He's coming back on. Oh my goodness. I'm only kidding. I miss Bazza when I'm not on. He's there. As I say, I'm otherwise occupied on Friday, Alan, as they say, big man. But again, mate, it's been a privilege and pleasure coming on and having a chat, mate. It's nice to see that you're sitting my Courts Hall jerseys. Last jersey that he kicked a ball for Celtic on me as well. It's quite good, mate. And also, stay safe, everybody. Do wrap up quite well because it is -7 all around Glasgow. If you want to add anything, Alan, now's your time, mate.
Oh, it's forecast for -10 on Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, mate. -10 on Saturday. So again, guys, it's getting that. That's how I've got a hoodie on. It's getting that on chittery, hillbilly sort of cold feeling. But I promise you, for tomorrow, I will look out the Mac 3 and I will be looking like a different and a new man.
Well, I'm no.
I know you'll know. But again, guys, it's been a pleasure. Anybody at all that's tuning in for the first time, don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button, because it obviously gives you notifications when we go live, when we put anything in the community section of the YouTube channel. You can just click on the wee icon and it takes you in and you will get notified. Any changes or anything that's happening through the podcast, guys, will be on there as well. So again, folks, hail, and we will see you later. See you tomorrow.